Who's in charge here? I don't know.
No, you are. Sorry, go ahead.
Sean, thanks for starting the recording. Good afternoon, all. This is Joshua Rattel with the School of Data Science. I'm really glad that you all could be here. For the students, thank you for making time. We're excited to have you as part of this conversation. We're also very excited to have this session sponsored by Sia Partners. Sia Partners has been a long-standing supporter of the School of Data Science and fantastic to work with. We're excited for them to share their insights on resumes and on interviewing techniques. But for those of you who don't know, they are also a vibrant part of the Charlotte community, and they've got a great story to tell about some of the projects they've been involved with. Khalil, who's going to be leading this conversation, has some familiarity, and I'll let him explain where that familiarity comes in with the data science program. Davina, this is your second time doing this session, I think?
Yes.
Okay, the third time, I think there's got to be a prize that's involved. So we'll come back to that as well. And let me try it again. So Davina Demelenne, correct? All right.
Yeah,
also
Davina Demelenne.
Davina Demelenne, thank you very much. Thank you both. Thank you all for being there. There are other members of the team. Khalil, I'm going to turn it over to you to take it from here and introduce the rest of the Sia Partners team. Thank you again for being here. Thank you all for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you, Josh, for the introduction. It's our pleasure to be back again and deliver this workshop for the School of Data Science at UNC Charlotte. The UNC Charlotte has been my second home for my undergrad degrees and my data science graduate degree as well. We couldn't find a better place to deliver this workshop. So today's workshop is about resume and interview best practices tailored towards personal branding. Davina, you want to introduce yourself?
So hi, I've been with Sia Partners for 4 years. I started in the Brussels office over in Europe, and then I joined the global mobility program that Sia Partners offered and moved to Charlotte in February, so right before everything locked down because of COVID-19. On both sides of the Atlantic, I've done a lot of work in interviewing, recruitment, and part of that team. So I've done a lot of interviews, some really good ones, some really bad ones, something all in between. So I hope that I can share some of the wisdom and the knowledge that I've learned along the way on what you can expect during interviews, especially for the consultancy industry. But interviewing and going on these kind of conversations is something as a consultant that we do on a very regular basis, so it never ends. Khalil?
So I'm a supervising senior data science consultant with Sia Partners. I've been with the firm for a little over 2 years, since 2018. Before that, I worked in wholesale banking at Wells Fargo for about 5 years. Interviewing and public speaking has been quite a challenge for me since I was young, given the fact that I still have it, a stuttering issue that I try to basically manage with a few techniques. And basically doing workshops like these, or like presentations and interviewing, for roles prior to joining Sia Partners has helped me kind of, step outside my comfort zone. So I'm happy to be here today to actually help out with this workshop. Christina?
Yeah, so hi everyone, my name is Christina. I joined Sia Partners around the same time Davina did, back in February, before everything shut down due to the pandemic, but I'm part of our talent acquisition team here. I'm based out of our New York office, and I manage all of our junior consultant hiring, our internship program, and I'm involved in all of our campus recruitment efforts, which is exciting. And prior to this, I was also in recruiting for finance and accounting roles, specifically at large financial institutions. But I'm glad to be here, and thank you all for joining. So I'll turn it over to, I think Danielle's next on the list.
Yep.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm Danielle. I'm a consultant out of the New York office. I've been with Sia since I graduated from Columbia, May of 2019, so about a year and a half. I work in the financial services industry, particularly in the compliance and regulation sector. Thank you guys all for joining. Happy to be here.
Hey,
I'll
my
pass it to Ryan.
no worries. Yeah, my name is Ryan Hudgen. Started with Sia with an internship back in January of 2019 while I was still attending school at Charlotte, and was hired full time upon my graduation last fall. I've been with Sia, so that makes it coming up on 2 years. With the internship and based in the Charlotte office and working in financial services. We also wanted to thank Tori Woolard, who's currently a junior consultant intern with us. She's actually in class right now, so unfortunately she wasn't able to make it, but she's also a student at UNC Charlotte, and she's getting her master's in economics and is graduating in December. So we can get rolling here.
Okay, so I'll start it off. I could tell you guys a little bit about Sia Partners. We are a global management consulting firm. We began back in 1999, founded in Paris, France, and then we eventually expanded to the United States in 2012. Here in the US, our consultants are heavily involved in compliance, risk management, and regulatory work, specifically within the banking industry. However, we have expanded into other sectors since then. But so globally, we are about 1,800 consultants. Within the US, we're give or take 350. Globally, we have 31 offices across 18 countries. Within North America, we have 9 offices. That includes New York, Chicago, Charlotte, Baltimore, Houston, Denver, Seattle, the Bay Area, and Toronto. And we are expanding here in North America. Sia Partners, though, we are heavily invested in technology, and we like to stay on top of all cutting edge solutions in order to meet our clients' needs. So we have 4 AI centers, 2 design centers. We service over 500 clients, and our return rate's about 92%. But I'll let Davina dive deeper into our industry sectors and services that we provide.
So from the sectors and the services, you can see there's a whole bunch of them, but the main and the most important, especially for the North American region, would be finance. That is both banking, insurance, and especially here in Charlotte, we are heavily involved with the local FinTech community. So we work closely together with Queen City FinTech and RevTech Labs, that is a local accelerator program for these kind of companies. We mentor them. As you know, next week it's Venture 135. So we're also presenting a couple of companies there. So very involved in that local space. Then the other industries that we're working in within the North American markets, where I'm going to focus on, is the energy market, mainly based out of Houston. That's the second one. And then finally also, especially on the West Coast with Seattle and our Bay Area offices in the technology industry. And that's where I'm currently working. As you can see, we have those sort of sector pillars, but next to that, we have a whole bunch of services. And I think especially as data scientists, that's where you would sort of find in. And then those services sort of cater to transversely to all of our industries and sectors. So you could end up anywhere. Next slide, Khalil. Thank you. So as Christina mentioned, as Sia Partners, we are really looking forward to technology. We have our own technology labs, our AI centers throughout the world. We have our own AI ecosystem that you can visit Khalil can drop the link into the chat box if you want to look at it. And then also we do a lot of open innovation. We have our own studio investment fund. We have our own appificator, which is sort of an international challenge for tech companies. So that are sort of the core values of our company: entrepreneurship, forward thinking, creative designs, really out of the box. So if that is something that speaks to you and you like that kind of proactiveness, then that's what we stand for. Next slide, Khalil. Thank you. So as you can see, we are a global company, and we really try to draw on that international knowledge and knowledge sharing. We have our own Sia Institute, which is our own training platform. We have our Connect 4.0, which is sort of a smart knowledge management platform as well, that's interconnected with our Sia Institute. And then lastly, I think especially now in 2020, our diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts have really seriously doubled down this year. So we've been working on this for a long time, but we're moving forward with, I would say, bigger strides this year. Khalil? Thank you. And finally, I think it's important to notice that we do a lot of thought leadership and innovation. So we write a lot of thought pieces, IPs. We do have a lot of quotations in the media. We publish everything on LinkedIn. So if you want to follow Sia Partners on LinkedIn, please do so. That's where you will find a lot of our content. And I'll hand it over to Danielle. That's why you came.
Okay, so we are going to start getting into a little bit of interview tips and tricks. So first, we're going to start off with the big part of interviewing is kind of you and what you give off. So the first thing is reputation. As we all know, when you kind of put in your name or your resume, the first thing that companies do is Google you. And so this image that you give out on Google, on your resume, and the above is the first thing that will be received as you. And so the perception is your reality. So what you're being perceived as is what they are going to be seeing you as. And so then kind of going from there, your identity is kind of what makes you unique. So you kind of want to be able to show with what you're saying, with what you're putting out there, who you are, what do you want, and what are your talents. And then communication, you should make sure that you're able to kind of talk about your skills, your experience, what's uniquely your own, and then what value you personally will bring to the role or to the company that you are applying for. Khalil, we can go to the next one. Okay, so then obviously during these times, interviewing is a little bit different because all of them are virtual. So we've kind of put together some tips and tricks just around the virtual space of how you can prepare. So before the interview, logistically, you're going to want to make sure you check your connection, your technical equipment, make sure your mic's working, your headphones are working, your laptop's plugged in so that it doesn't die, and that you've got your resume on you. So if they reference it, you kind of have it exactly in front of you. You're going to want to pick the right spot. So it's going to want to have a neutral background. You don't want anything really to distract from anything. You want it to be front lit, and make sure you're kind of sitting at your desk or your table, not taking it from your bedroom or your couch. These are still professional, so you kind of want to give off that professional air. But then also have a backup plan in case anything does happen. So have the dial-in information written down. So in case your laptop does die, you have it. And then also make sure that you take the time to research your interviewer. So you get a little bit of understanding of where they came from, some of their background, because with some of that information, you can kind of ask them questions along the lines of some background they may have. And it just kind of shows that you've done your due diligence behind them. So then right before the interview, you're going to want to prepare physically. Like I said earlier, your perception is exactly what you give off. So you're going to want to make sure you take a shower, dress appropriately, wear business professional clothing, and have a professional hairstyle. So no bedhead. Make arrangements with your housemates or any of your college roommates or anything. Let them know, hey guys, I'm going to be interviewing in this time frame. Please don't barge in, any of that. And then maybe even put a sticky note on the door to let people know I'm interviewing right now, please don't come in. You're gonna wanna turn off your device, any notifications on your laptop, so those aren't coming up and kind of distracting you from the conversation. Turn off your phone and make sure you're on time. Arrive ahead of time, make sure you've got your notepad and your pen and kind of be waiting to be let into the room. And then during the interview, you're gonna wanna have a proper introduction. Thank the interviewer for their time. Obviously there's no handshake, but make sure you're always looking into the camera, and that is at eye level, so you're not looking up or down at them. And make sure at the very end that you take the time to say thank you, for them taking the time to interview you. And we were also talking that it's okay to log off first. I know sometimes you get to the end of an interview or a conversation and you get that kind of awkward, we're both on the screen together, how do we end this? It's okay to log off first. So then we can go to the next one, Khalil. Okay, so for the first interview, there's some base principles. So the first interview, the company is gonna wanna know if you're the right fit for their business culture and whether you're gonna gel well with the team. So you're gonna wanna do your homework beforehand. You're gonna wanna research the company and kind of know what they stand for, some of their values, what can you bring to that culture, to their values, and think about how will this company help with your career. How will you present yourself, your experience, your education, motivation? You're going to want to kind of have that background information to cater some of this towards the exact company that you're applying for, because every company is a little bit different in what their values are, how your experience will merge well with theirs. And then during the interview, the biggest thing is just you want to be an active listener. You're going to want to be honest and genuine, be open and transparent about what you want and what you can do. Be very concise and to the point. They're taking time out of their day to speak to you, so you don't want to give long-winded answers on things. Just really get clear, be clear about what your expectations are, and ask questions. As an interviewer, we love to be asked questions, so that's always a great sign. And then after the interview, same as kind of an in-person or anything, you're going to want to follow up, send a thank you email to them, thanking them for their time, stay connected on LinkedIn possibly, and kind of learn from the experience. Did it go well? Did it not go well? What can you do better? The first one is just really to set a gauge for how you did, how things are going to go. And yeah, so clearly you can go to the next one. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Danielle. We're gonna talk about resumes and cover letters now. We're gonna do a little bit of an interactive exercise here. So if you are all, since you're all on your computers, go to menti.com and you'll be able to enter in the code that's on the screen. And we'll ask a couple preliminary questions about resumes and cover letters. So we'll give you a couple moments here. All right. So first question is, do you customize your resume every time you apply for a job posting? Yes, and Davina said you can also do this on your phone as well. A couple responses coming in. Well, I don't know if we can share the code again. Maybe we can do it before we go to the next one. Oh, it's at the top of the screen. I see. Never mind. All right, how many people do we have? We got 29 folks in here. Okay, so it's looking right now like the majority of the folks here are saying yes, a couple no's. Wait for a couple more to come in. But it seems like most of y'all are on the right track here with your answer. Yes, 100% you should customize your resume every time before you apply to a new job posting. You don't have to do a full major, overhaul or anything like that, but It's definitely a good idea to tweak some of the language on there, tweak your summary, just so that you can try to align more to the position and more to the company. For example, if the job is it's a project manager role, you're going to want to highlight the project management experience that you have, any leadership skills that you have as well. And similarly, if it's a more technical position, you'd want to mention your technical skills, changing your bullet points just to, obviously align and show your experience. So you wouldn't want to just have one blanket resume, and send that out to a bunch of employers if it's for, different roles. So we'll hop to the next question, Khalil, if you will. Similar thing, cover letter. You're going to customize it every time you apply for a job, or are you going to include it at all? All right, 729. Couple seconds here before you get going. Pretty interesting responses. So again, it's a great idea to customize this as well. Your cover letter is your first introduction to yourself, to the employer, to the recruiter. Gives you the opportunity to tell your story, start to build that relationship that you have with the interviewer. For those of you who do not include a cover letter, some jobs, some positions may not require a cover letter, but the thing is, it's a very easy thing to create, and just to give a little bit more of a background, and we'll talk specifics about what to include there, within the actual cover letter itself. But it certainly won't hurt you in any way to include a cover letter if it is not required by the employer. So, the worst thing that will happen is, you'll lose, 10, 15 minutes creating this cover letter if nobody reads it. But, it could be the thing that separates you from the rest of the group, showing that you go above and beyond. And, that's obviously something that employers are looking for. So we can jump to the next slide.
If I can just jump in here for a second, Ryan, I would just like to add to that you are graduates, so you're graduating from college. Your experience level is not yet at a point where you can just send in your resume and it's going to speak for itself. Since you are a starter, it is a really good idea to include that cover letter. I see a lot of you don't, but it's really a way to show interest in the company. Even if you don't have the experience, it's a way to highlight the qualities and the talents that you do have. For instance, your leadership skills. If you volunteer in certain organizations, if you take on board projects at the university, if you operate in any way, shape, or form in a leadership capacity, a cover letter is a way where you can highlight this and where you can show that the key skills that they are looking for, the key characteristics that a recruiter is looking for, that is the place where you can sort of elaborate on that, show it. And it's also a way to show that you're really interested in the company in itself as well, that you've done your research and that you highlight why you would be a good fit for them, so that you can argument it a little bit and set yourself apart from, basically everyone else in your class. You've all taken the same classes, you all have the same background, you might have similar GPAs. So how do you stand out from that crowd? I think a cover letter is a really good idea to do that.
Yeah, thanks Davina for adding on there, and Josh as well. Yeah, it does, communicate or share your communication skills as well. So all good points to have added there. So Khalil, if we could jump to the next slide. And here we just have some general do's and don'ts with cover letters in mind. Again, it's the opportunity for you to give a little bit more background. So, you can address the context with the job position and that company. You can use the company website and the job posting to sort of get an idea of what, employers are going to be looking for. Obviously we want to talk about your personal experience, like Davina mentioned, your students. So, you'll want to include any leadership skills or anything like that. Why you want to work for their company is really important as well. You can't just really say, because it sounds cool and the salary looks great. That's my really important thing. You probably want to lead with something else instead of that. And again, it gives you the opportunity to showcase some of your abilities. Why you're different from the rest of the applicants, things like that. And again, as we discussed, you will want to change your cover letter to each job posting. You don't just want to have a blanket one, because that won't really be. You can get a lot more value by tailoring it to the certain job or the certain company. And feel free. I don't know if we want to do questions now or questions at the end, but I think this is a good spot to. If anybody has a question about this, feel free to jump in. You can post something in the chat or speak up.
How long should the cover letter be? It's like typically.
How long was it? Is that what you said?
Yeah, because like some people say, make it a page,
Mhm.
Keep it
Yeah,
shorter. So
sure. Davina, looked like you want to jump in.
I don't know, Ryan, what you wanted to say, but I would say 1 page is a good length. You want to be concise without being too concise. So don't write an entire novel. That's not necessary. Try to keep it to 1 page, 1 page and a half at maximum, because it will not only show your interest, but also show the way you present information. So can you be concise, but can you be to the point? Can you give sufficient detail that is relevant for the job that you are applying for? So I would say like 1 page is a really good length to go for.
Mm-hmm.
okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
I kind of can add to that. As a recruiter who reads the cover letters, a page is really the max I would want to see. And highlighting the specific things that Ryan went over, for students, it's the leadership activities that you did on campus or off campus, volunteer experience, things like that. And as to why you want to work for the company you're applying. So that's the part where you'd have to tailor it to each job that you are applying to.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right. We'll have the opportunity later on in the workshop to answer any other questions, so we can come back to this obviously. But for now, Khalil, if you want to jump to our next slide, which is resume do's and don'ts. Right. So contact information. That's your name, number. You probably don't need to include your full address. It's unlikely that anybody's going to be actually utilizing that and mailing you something, but it's a good idea to include your city and state. Professional email address is a must. Your student email address works fine. A couple months ago, I got an email from somebody, like soccer stud, like with some numbers after, at hotmail.com, asking about the internship, and safe to say I did not forward that to our HR team. Just because, again, it's unprofessional. It doesn't give off a very good, like Danielle said, perception is reality. Did tell that person, to, hey, maybe email me again on another email address and we can talk. But that could hurt your chances, as it did in that person's case. Include your LinkedIn profile, your GitHub profile, any project portfolio that you have. That's always a great thing to add. If you're struggling with space, to include that, feel free to get creative. I've seen some folks include their profiles or portfolios in using QR codes, which I think is pretty neat. So feel free to give that a try if you're in the mood to do something creative. And then with actual content, you'll want to start with the most relevant experience, right? Like We mentioned, if it's a project management role, you'll want to include project management experience, anything like that. Include relevant numbers, quantify the data. This gives the interviewer and the talent acquisition team a better idea of the the size of the team that you've worked on, and where you can be utilized. Obviously when you're putting things on the resume, you'll want to put it in most recent experience. Obviously, students will likely have their education at the top of their resume, and then their most recent internship following that. So summer internship, or if you're doing an internship during the school year. Obviously depending on the industry, you'll want to cater it a little bit more, to the industry or the company as well, like we already talked about. Again, technical skills, which I'm sure all of you on the call have, very important to highlight that. Companies are really looking for folks who can do more analysis type exercises with clients, things like that, at least in our case. And then, lastly, don't make blanket statements. You want to keep things concise, but add your personal experience to bullet points in your resume. Try to use language that you can highlight the impact of what you did and why it was important, not just, I led people on my team to finish this project. You want to be a little bit more, a little bit more of a detailed explanation than that. And I do see we have some questions in the chat. If I can figure out how to open the chat. Okay.
Rowan had a question, so maybe he can just unmute himself and ask you directly.
Yeah, I think it'd be easier if I explained it. But so basically, I have experience in the past that I don't necessarily want to work with now. So like a little bit of web development stuff. And I've also noticed so whenever I post this to Dice or Monster, it's picking up all these keywords. So I'm getting a lot of calls about web development, even though I'm trying to get into data science. So how should I word my resume to where, it still shows that I had that kind of experience, but it doesn't mislead the recruiter to thinking that I want that kind of job still?
I can actually answer that question. So Rohan, right? Did I say it right? Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
So on monster.com or Career Builder or any other career sites, you can actually, when you create your profile, you can actually set up notifications, right? Where you can set your preferences on what type of roles are you interested in. That way, those type of notifications and preferences will actually block the other requests that you keep getting about web development and stuff like that. Instead, you'll be getting more roles that are catered towards,
Sounds good. Yeah. No, I'm good. Yep. You
And
can leave it open.
And the same thing.
Is Troy still here? Is Troy still here? Oh, I didn't even see him. Sounds good.
Okay. Maybe we had like a visitor in Zoom. All right. So, and also you can do the same thing on LinkedIn. If you're applying through jobs on LinkedIn, you can set up your preferences there so that you can only get, basically you let in recruiters know that these are the only type of roles that you're interested in, and they can actually see that from your preferences, and they will basically, not all career sites are set up that way, but the big ones are.
Okay, yeah, I'll look into that. Thanks.
And Christina, if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, so I'd say in your objective on your resume, that's where you should highlight the types of roles you are looking for. Maybe you can also move your web development experience more towards the bottom of your resume, and then add more towards the top, and the middle of it, the meat of it, you can put your experience that's more tailored to the work you would like to do, even if it's a project in school and it wasn't an exact internship.
Right.
I would do that. Also on LinkedIn, you can make your profile to open to new opportunities, and within that you can put the titles of the jobs that you are looking for. You can even put location. So you like your preferences. And I'd also recommend in your about section on your profile on LinkedIn, put what the types of jobs you are looking for, whichever service or industry sector that is.
Okay, that sounds good. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Indeed.com works the same way, by the way, as LinkedIn. You can set up your preferences. It's very intuitive. Yeah.
Okay.
Do we have another chat?
Yes, Justin. So I would say, like we said, put your most relevant experience first, and then sort of work your way backwards chronologically. So it's most relevant plus the last thing you did that feels within the screen you put on top. And at the bottom, it should be the most furthest away and the least relevant experience. And as you grow along in your career, you can just drop the bottom of it and then just mix and match whatever is the most useful experience that you have. If you're really wanting to make that change and that switch, I would do what Christina said and really highlight that in your objectives, in your personal sort of short description of who you are, what you stand for, and what you're looking for.
Yeah, and I'd also just add that with the dates that you do put on your resume, make sure they are accurate and correct, because companies, when they do a background check, those will be checked. So make sure they also align to the dates you put on your LinkedIn profile as well.
So whatever you do, do not follow the examples that we put in here, because we wanted to show you really bad examples so you know what definitely not to do.
Hello. Hey, I have one question if I can ask. So like with experience, what if, I mean, like I have non-relevant experience like whatsoever with the field, but I have some projects. So what should I put first in resume, my experience of or my projects?
I would put a section of your project experience first, if that's the most relevant to what you want to do. And then underneath your project experience, then I would put your professional work experience, internship, just to show that you did work, even if it was something that, you're not looking to pursue in the future.
Okay.
And I would say, even if you've had a job as a waiter or a waitress in a restaurant, and that's sort of one of the only things you have at that point, just put it on there and then highlight the things that you were good at during that job, whether it's, for instance, conflict resolution, because that happens. There's a discussion with a client and, how did you handle that? Is sort of look at those things, your communication skills. If you're working in a restaurant and they're asking you to push the daily, that's a sales skill. So look at the decomposition of that job, even if it's not relevant at all, as you might think, but look at the valuable skills that you've learned during that job and highlight those.
All right, thank you.
And in that case, I would definitely add a cover letter to show your motivation and why you apply for the job.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, customer service jobs or customer service experience can definitely highlight the fact that you are personable, and you can actually bridge the gap, and you are a problem solver, like Davina said. So most employers, they think of data scientists or data engineers as being socially introvert, and they don't really, they're not really great at communicating or things like that. So they're just basically like individual contributors, if you will, which is not the case. Really, that's not the case. So if you basically put experience like that related to customer service, you can actually show that you're the guy that can actually be a problem solver and bridge the gap between business and IT, for example. So
Okay, let's move forward and then we can see if there's more questions afterwards. Okay, so what we really wanted to do this year is add some practical exercises and do a mock interview with one of you. So I don't know, I think Joshua mentioned Alvin because he was the first as a volunteer, but if there's someone else who really wants to do this and has their resume at hand, please just.
Oh, don't let Elvis off the hook. I think he should be first and foremost.
Okay, great. So Alvin, are you there?
Elvis.
Elvis. Okay, sorry. Elvis, are you there?
I'm here. Should I share through the chat or like how do you want me to do it?
Yeah, just can you just turn your camera on for a moment? I think that's like, if we're really gonna do this the way it should be, so we can see you as well. Great, thank you. And do you have your resume at hand?
Yes, I do.
Can you share it with the rest of the group?
Okay.
Are you able to?
Like share screen or should I share screen or you want?
Yeah, just share your screen so we can see your resume.
I can stop sharing real quick.
Sean, can you make sure, Sean, if you're still there, just go ahead and add Elvis as a co-host.
Yep, just did.
Perfect.
Okay, great. Can you just scroll through it for me so I can see? Okay, great. So normally I would do this in advance, so I would sort of highlight the things that stand out to me, and then also look at what are the potential questions I could ask about that. So let's just start. How a really normal interview would go is just I would say, hi, thank you for joining me today, Elvis. The way we're going to do this interview is the following. I will start with introducing myself so you get a little bit of a feel for who I am. I'll go through my resume, then I'll ask you to do the same thing. We'll also do a small business case. I'll ask you a couple of really particular questions to check that you're really saying what it is, that you're saying the truth. And then also if you have questions at the end, we'll get to that as well. So I'll present myself first. So my name is Davina. I'm a manager at Sia Partners. I've been with the company for 5 years. I started my career over 10 years ago in the banking industry, really in retail banking. After that, I moved into finance services, sort of operational accounting solutions. So really working the chain all the way from the back end to the front end, looking at things like how are money streams coming in, transferring those into accounting schedules, accounting schemes, then transferring that as well, translating it into technical requirements for the coding team, and then all the way up until the reporting streams. After that, I decided to make a career switch up to Sia Partners when I joined them. And after that, I worked mainly in the insurance industry, developing platforms for clients to sell their products online. And I'm currently working in the technology industry as well, on technology services for legal and compliance problems solving. So I'm going to let you do the same thing.
Okay, so my name is Alphas Chung. I'm currently pursuing a master's degree in data science and business analytics. And I have a background in finance, and also in the past 3 years, I have been working with Bank of America since 2017, and some responsibility such as reviewing some general ledger and analyzing invoice data, and also employee data using Excel, pivot table, and VLOOKUP function. In the meantime, I have been studying to develop my skills and also improve my current skill set, like taking it to the technical level. And during the time, I learned a lot, and I met a lot of amazing people. And I actually don't have a lot of technical background because my role is more into the operation side. So that like on my resume, I put more like a project experience on the bottom, like to show more experience into getting into this field. And I'm so grateful to be here today and learn about more critics and listening advice to improve my resume. And thank you for everyone.
Thank you, Alvis. So a couple of questions around that. You said you worked like at Bank of America with Excel doing VLOOKUPs. What would be a way to automate that system and that process?
It is more like writing VLOOKUP function for like formula.
Yeah, I know what a VLOOKUP function is, but you know, it seems like a very manual process. So what would you recommend the client to do to switch up that into a more automated process?
Not quite sure.
That's okay, no problem. You say you don't have a lot of technical experience, which kind of surprises me for you being a data scientist. So can you give me a little bit more clarification of your operational experience into detail?
Yes, for operation, like what I do is that when I receive a report, like that's a auditor report from my manager, and then I just break it down using pivot table by countries, and also prioritize them, like what is urgently, like what will need to be done today, and so forth, like priority 1, 2, 3, something like that.
What do you base yourself on to decide if something is high priority or low priority?
When someone like some minor businesses send us some email, like they wanted to get it done like a pay urgently, so then we will prioritize those invoices to pay first and so on.
Okay. Can you tell me the difference between a data lake and a data warehouse?
I know data warehouse is where you store a lot of data into a, it can be relational or it can be like, how do you say?
What would be the key difference between the two? Like just data-wise, what's the key difference between the two?
I would say like data lake is followed by a certain sequence like of data, like that. I had to prepare on that, I think.
So yeah, if I tell you like a data lake is where we store raw data, and the data warehouse is the place where we store data that has already been formatted and that is functional for analysis purposes, what would be the main, I would say, drawbacks at this point for data lakes? So what are the negatives of using a data lake for storing big data?
I would say data lake includes data that from different format, like it has not been organized or like implemented or perform any data cleaning process. So I think that's the main difference.
Yes, but we just went over that because that's the difference between a data lake and a data warehouse. So if we're just looking at a data lake, why would I want to use a data lake as a company?
Using data lake for the companies, I was to keep the overall data, like the original data into their files that without modifying it, or so we can keep a record that we can refer back sometimes when we have to pull out data from the original data set.
Okay. As you know, working for Bank of America, as I see as an officer and operations analyst, I guess you have to ask people for information. What do you do if they don't hand it to you within a given time frame?
I would first we request send an email to them and to confirm. And if they did not respond, then I will follow up on it within 1 to 2 days. And if they still don't reply, then I would do some research on certain ways that I can get the data from, reach out to the owner of the data set person, and also talk to her or him to see if we can get the data from it.
And why would you like to work at Sia Partners?
The reason I want to work with Sia Partners is that I want to expand my current skill set that I learned from school, like some of their quantitative approach, I would say some to improve my current skill set, like taking it to the next level, and also utilize the thing that I need to learn.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Elvis, for being our volunteer today.
Sorry,
I'm gonna hand it over back to Khalil to share the screen, because we're going to go back to the Mentimeter, and what I would like you to drop into the box is things that you did, Elvis did really well.
Yeah, I thank you for the questions. I really you wrote down some of those.
Yeah. It's really hard if you're put on the spot like this, and I think your first interview, it's normal if you're gonna bump.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that that is what you did, but there's certainly ways to improve upon it. There's definitely moments where you get stuck. So I really want to put this in front of the group and the student body that we have here assembled today. What are the things that Elvis did really well? I think it's the same menti.com and the same code, right, Khalil? Yes.
And again, the more feedback we get from everybody, the better conversation would be to have in this section.
Yeah, I think the introduction went really well. I think you introduced yourself very succinctly. I think you went through your experience in a very structured way that made a lot of sense. So I really did like that. As they say, spoke well, nice confidence, smile on the face throughout the interview. That's definitely a bonus. It shows that you are eager to be there and that you're really looking forward to it. You go through the interview, you hit a roadblock at some point. It's going to happen that you get stuck. There's going to be a question that you don't know the answer to. You were a little bit flustered, but you pushed through. You didn't sort of give up in the moment or had a huge drop in energy. I felt that is also very positive. And if you don't know the answer, that's fine. We don't expect you to know all the answers when you come to an interview. So just say I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to that is okay. Sometimes you will know the answer to it and you will be just so stressed out that you won't remember anything at the moment and have a blackout. That happens and it's unfortunate. It happens during the interview, but take that with you for the next one and learn from it. I would say there's nothing really you can do in that moment. As Danielle said, I think it's really important that we keep stressing this, but the perception that we have is your reality that you work in that moment. So I'm going to let the rest of the team jump in to also give some feedback on what they think went really well. Like Khalil or Ryan or Danielle or, yeah.
Sure. So, Danielle, would you like to go first? I can go first. Whatever you.
I think I started speaking, but you can go first, Khalil.
Oh, sorry, Christina. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think you did well in in basically introducing yourself and talking about your experience and highlighting your education. Sometimes when you face a difficult question, like Davina said, you can actually, it's okay to say that you don't know the answer. And however, I will get back to you with an answer later on, in a follow up via email or something like that. And or if you know very limited, not like very limited information about the topic, then you could share what you know, which is fine. Honesty sometimes it's a good thing to portray to your interviewer, because that builds trust, between the two of you, and and you can definitely from there you can actually kind of try to have like a more candid conversation about other topics where where you can actually ask questions and things like that. So and also try to find a way to try to basically find a way to have some notes with you, like when it comes to questions like difference between data lake and data warehouse, things like that. Like you're in data science, so I know you probably know the answer, you know but sometimes it's just maybe like Davina said, you're just stressed and you couldn't tell how to like basically give a concise answer. So just it's okay to have notes in front of you, to kind of help you out throughout the process, answering those questions.
Yeah, Christina, if you want to jump in, I know you wanted to say something.
Yeah, so I think he did a great job in terms of his energy, and he kept eye contact. I know sometimes it's hard being virtual, but being positive and having that energy is great for an interview. And like they said, if you don't know an answer, it's okay to say, I don't know too much about this, but this is what I do know. Or if you kind of have like a brain fart and you forget the answer, as it sometimes happens when you're nervous, and you realize after the interview, that's something that you can include in your thank you email when you follow up with your interviewer. But yeah, thought you stayed positive. You worked through the questions that you didn't know how to answer. And yeah, I think you did a great job. I know this was short notice without being prepared, but I guess to go off of Khalil's point too, to have some notes in front of you, especially now that things are virtual, that's kind of a benefit. You can have a bit of a cheat sheet in front of you. So yeah, I would definitely, obviously you didn't know you were going to be doing this mock interview, but moving forward, I would suggest that just in case.
Thank you. And then I think it's also really important that we, if you can go to the next one, if we can again have your input, everyone. What are the things that Elvis could improve upon? What are the things you can do differently within an interview, you think? We'll give you a couple of minutes to answer that question again. as they come in, these recommendations, I'll just work through it. I think that's a really good one. Ask questions. For instance, right at the top, I asked you sort of went through this. Yeah, you used Excel with a pivot table. And then I asked you, like, what would you have recommended to move this into a more, automated way? And sort of, I don't know, it's okay at that point to ask the question directly to the interviewer and say, I don't know the answer to that. I don't think I have the experience, but what would you recommend, or what would be a way to do this? So you can definitely ask the interviewer what it would be like. Yeah, start thinking generic concept of a data science role. They're all really good recommendations, everyone. Really good. There are definitely things you can prepare for in advance. So for instance, your personal presentation, the presentation of your resume, those are really things you can prepare for in advance. You know you the best, you know what you've done, you know where you've been, I hope so. So really write it out in advance. So to make sure that you don't stumble on those really sort of easy ways. Something I also wanted to say, like, yeah, it was sort of at the end here, like, keep focusing on in technical skills, mention projects. I mean, as a data scientist, I'm sure you have technical skills. I'm sure they're not no technical skills. So whenever you go to an interview, just don't put yourself down. That's a really important tip I can give you. Don't say, oh, I'm not good at this. Try to spin it positively. You can always say, I have some improvement to be made on my technical skills, but I am learning, I am taking this and this action to work myself up. Show that you are really interested and you want to do that. And then highlight what you're really good at as well. We don't expect you to be good at everything, but that's important to not put yourself down. I've heard that a lot. Like, I don't have this capability. I don't think I'm this. Like, don't do that. We're not expecting you to be perfect from the start. Try to spin everything positive, and say that you are willing to learn. I think that's really important, that you are willing to learn, that you are willing to do the work, that you are willing to do the research, and that you are willing to do that on your own, without having it be an assignment that we give you. That shows a lot of sort of individual proactiveness and initiative taking. I'm gonna let the rest of the team jump in again here.
I'll just add something real quick about the technical skills. As I know Alvis mentioned that he didn't really use them, but you've used them in your coursework. So it's okay if you haven't used them in any professional work experience. That's completely fine, but it's still experience when you use it in your coursework or a project or a class. And even if you consider yourself a beginner, spin it positively, like Davina said. I've only used it in my classwork, so I'm not advanced at it, but it's definitely something I want to learn more about or take more classes on, things like that. Anyone else have anything?
Yeah, I would like to add to that. When you're basically answering technical questions, such as, how can you automate a process or something like that? I mean, that's not really too technical, but you can actually incorporate, the data science mindset, which is all about collaboration. As a data scientist, you're not supposed to learn, you're not supposed to know every single aspect of technology. You're not a unicorn. You're not supposed to, you're not Superman. You can be Superman if you want to, but you're not Superman, to like solve everything. Okay. So you are actually expected to collaborate with developers, data engineers, business analysts, and other subject matter experts across the organization. So try to incorporate the collaboration effort, into your answer. Yeah, I would like. I can automate the process by basically, setting up a meeting with developers and the data engineers to basically find a better way to a better way to actually enhance the process, improve the process, and then automate it. Things like that. Like even if you don't know how, you're not supposed to be the expert of everything. So just try to like find a way to kind of incorporate collaboration in your answer.
Yeah, what we're really looking for here is not the correct answer, because there is not one correct answer. And also it's a very high level situation. So I don't know what the particular situation was in this case. What we're really looking for is how you're going to go about this. So as Khalil just said, it's part of teamwork, but the first step would be to collect the current information, to look at what it is that you have, and then to sort of look and talk through with the client, like what kind of automation would they want? What would they want to see change? And then you would have what we call a gap between what is there and what should be there. And that is sort of your gap analysis. So that is the first step you do. The second step would then be to go and do the teamwork, go talk with developers, go talk with end users to sure to recollect all the requirements that you need to do this project, and then to sort of help develop it. And then you would test it. And then if the testing is positive, you would bring that to production. Those are the kind of steps that we are looking for, really high level. We're not looking for like a concrete example. I would use this code or would this that. So it's really more sort of an abstract level. How can you think? Do you analyze the situation? Can you do it fast? Can you do it speedy? And what is the solution you come up with from that point of view? So thank you everyone for the feedback that you've given. I think it's really good and very positive as well. Khalil, we can move forward.
So just one last thing before I move on to the next slide. So like in order to kind of help your knowledge, and kind of feed more your knowledge about like what are the AI trends or technology trends out there that are being used by several industries. Try to read more data science journals and AI trends, like like for example, like or studies from Gartner or things like that. That those types of journals that are not just academic, that are like outside of the academic world. They give you the actual application of a digital transformation and AI in the actual real world. So when you know these use cases, those use cases, that knowledge that you gather, that can help you answer those type of questions.
Thanks, Khalil. And to Dustin, to answer your question, I've seen the sort of labeling like 1 to 5 or 1 to 10. I would say just do it on a couple of them, but don't go overboard with it. Don't make your entire resume into sort of a scaling of yourself. And as we said, look at the job description, look at it as what they're asking for, and put those skills in at the top. And I would also like make sure you have a good sort of a mix between knowledge and soft skills. In your cases, it's going to be a lot of leadership skills, but also if it can be conflict resolution, or you're a good active listener, or you learn fast, you're flexible in time, you're not too, those are all kind of happy things that we like.
Okay.
So let's move forward, because I'm looking at the time that we sure have time for the next case.
Okay, so these are the...
Yeah, so these are, sorry, so these are a couple of questions. We will send you the deck afterwards that you can expect as a data scientist that might come up and that we would ask of you. Next one, Khalil.
Yeah.
And then, as you've just experienced during this type of interview, there will be 3 big sections. One would be your personal and your experience history. So that's kind of the presentation, and also questions about why are you interested in management consulting, why Sia Partners, why this company, why that. The second thing is behavior and situational questions, sort of where I asked, like, what would you do if someone does not give you the information on time? What would you do in certain situations and outcomes? Those are behavioral questions. So you can Google this and you will find a lot of examples online. So you can also prepare yourself a little bit for that. And then the last part is then project experience. So it's really looking at, can you think abstractly, as we said, sort of, if you would move this in an automated way, how would you go about it? And look if you can work through that. So let's go to Khalil and we'll do a short example of a business case. So we're looking for another volunteer. So if there's someone that wants to volunteer for this while Khalil is doing this, please, drop that maybe in the chat box. And otherwise, we'll just go through the list of people and just name someone.
So as as a data scientist, or if you're applying for a job in a management consulting firm, you should expect a case study interview, and they vary from company to company, from role to role, right? So, but the generic structure is, there's always an introduction. You'll get basically a brief introduction of what the business problem is, with details, or some companies may just share a brief document for you to read, and while some others basically just communicate the scenario in conversation. Information about the business problem, sometimes can be vague. And then the portion of the interview, you can ask clarifying questions if needed. For structure, so once the business problem is defined, right, you can always take some time to organize your questions in a comprehensive manner, so that you can address all the aspects of the problem. In the structure phase, there's a lot of silent moments, if you will. So it's okay. You're trying to take time to kind of have accurate answers or accurate approach for your problem. This ensures that you are addressing every aspect that's critical to solve the client's problem. The analysis part, basically you'll dig in and analyze the problem. You're gonna try to gather, you'll try to gather data, right, to back up the factors related to the business case. You can ask relevant questions that will give you more data on each aspect of the problem, and you'll be assessed on whether you asked relevant questions or and well-reasoned, or you having well-reasoned insights into the client problem. The conclusion, basically you'll present your recommendations to the client in a very concise manner, and you always want to be mindful of your audience, right? So if your audience is a bit technical, and that means they may want some technical aspect, right, to be talked to in your answer. And if your audience or your interviewer is a bit more business oriented, then you are coming from a data science background, so you may have to kind of basically bridge that gap so that you can actually clearly tell your story about how about the case study analysis that you're doing. So during the conclusion, basically you'll be assessed on whether you present a well thought out solution based on the relevant facts of the case. All right.
And we have Yashank, who wants to be our volunteer for the next part.
Okay.
So we'll just give you, so this is the case, this is what you will receive.
Yeah.
And we'll just give you 2 to 3 minutes to gather your thoughts, so everyone can do this together with Yashank. And then we'll just ask you to go through your solution.
All right, thank you.
So COVID-19 has affected most banks' consumer lending business revenue stream. You are tasked to help the CIO, Chief Information Officer team of a consumer lending business unit, credit cards unit as an example, to build an AI strategy that would help them navigate such extraordinary events and remain profitable. List the steps the CIO team must follow to make a business case for your AI strategy, considering the audience is the Chief Executive Officer and the Executive Board. And please feel free to ask any questions.
So do I need to write those questions first and then present, or I ask right away?
Then you can ask them right away if you want.
Oh.
Or you can, you know.
Yeah, so I just write it first and then I can present.
Yeah. What? Sorry, can you say that again?
What are you going to present? We just want to see if you can walk us through this, like what your ideas would be.
Oh, sorry. You talking to me or you talking to the volunteer?
I think Yashank.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, okay.
Do you want to stop sharing so you can share, or you want more time?
Yeah, I need some more time.
Okay, sure, no problem.
Khalil and Davina, while Yashank is working on that, if folks want to find out more about Sia Partners and career opportunities, I threw in the LinkedIn, but where else would you direct them in terms of ways to connect with the company and to follow some of your work?
So yeah, thank you for sharing the link of our company, Sia Partners. You can always reach out to us individually. So the people that were here today, if you have any questions, please look us up on LinkedIn and send us some DMs. And then Christina can share with you the internship information as well. She can share the link with you if you want to apply for that as well. Thank you. I know, let me see. I know that Lauren asked a question as well. I can go through this because maybe not everyone's chat saw while we wait. So we check, and yes, indeed, that the dates match on your resume during the background check. Does the job title need to match? I would say not necessarily, not entirely. It can say project officer or project manager. Those are little things that we're not going to fall over. What is really important is that the description that you give and sort of the bullet points that you put underneath that are representative for the job and the job that you've done and the title that goes along with it. But if it is too different, of course, that is also going to be sort of something we'll fall over. But it doesn't have to match one-on-one. Okay, I think that is it on time for Yashank. So yeah, let's hear what your solution would be or how you would tackle this case.
And if you would like me to stop sharing, if you want to share anything, or if you want to just talk to it, that's fine too.
I'll just use paper and pen. I'm not the expert in this case, but like as far as I understand this problem, it's about the consumer spending, that like how, and credit cards. So like how much people are spending right now in credit card, and like why they aren't spending right now, like what are the um uh, what's the scenario right now that people are not spending. And also like so in this pandemic situation, we need to know that how much people need to spend, because like most of the people are saving right now, because like everyone's losing their job and all. So more people are saving right now instead of spending. So we should have a plan to like we should know that on what things customers are spending most, and we can give some kind of rewards or like points towards that spending, that if you buy this, then you are going to get 50 points, or like if you buy this, or if you spend certain, then you'll get 100 points or 200 points, like that. Um, that's all I could come up with.
Okay.
Uh,
Um,
really sorry about that.
it's no, it's again, we're we're not looking for the correct answer, right? So what you've done is you actually focused on a detail that is meaningful to the case, meaningful to the overall problem. Um, Perhaps expanding on that detail could have basically made more your answer much more meaningful to the CEO or the executive board, right? So what the CEO and the executive board care about here in this problem is how to keep their consumer lending business unit profitable through events such as COVID-19. So they're going to have to do the CIO team, you and the CIO team will have to do some digging to see what affected the business units negatively, like exactly what affected the revenue stream. So I can think of some of the factors like default risk has increased, for example, due to jobless claims, like you said, you mentioned that, you know, and there's another thing which is basically, you know, there is uncertainty in the market, right? That you can also mention that as well, and you know, uncertainty in the market, in the job market. So even though for folks that still have their jobs, they don't know if they're going to lose their jobs the following month. So that creates uncertainty for the lenders, right? If should they actually keep lending, or should they actually, you know, restrict, limit the lending operations, right, for a little bit to limit their default risk. So things like that. So all you have to do is just basically structure your answer so that you can be telling like a story to help the CIO team convince the CEO and executive board of the AI strategy. Usually an AI strategy can include predictive models, um, basically initiatives to centralize a lot of data, like basically centralizing internal data and external data in data lakes, right? And when I say data lakes, meaning we have to kind of, you know, rely on big data, which is like there's a lot of unstructured data over there, like, you know, social media data, things like that, so that, you know, you can actually utilize that data and try to find more insights about the market, in new markets, if you will, trying to identify new markets, if you will, to market the consumer lending business unit products, right? Or even create new products, new credit card products for the new environment that we're in right now. So
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah, I think what is important is how you structure the information. So how you present it. It's like to say in steps, first this, then that, following this, then that, and conclusion. I think structuring the information is really important. And secondly, is talking through your reasoning and through your thinking. Like, I did this because of this reason. I think it would be a good idea to do that because of this reason. This is why I would approach it in this way instead of that way. Those kind of feedbacks are really valuable, so we can see how you would go about it and you can argument it. The third thing is we're always looking sort of for creative thinking, entrepreneurial thinking. Do you go the traditional route and just presenting things that we already know, or are you able within a very, very short time span to draw in experience from other sectors into this? I'm looking here at AI strategy, as Khalil just said, bringing in data from third-party sources, bringing in new data points, finding new ways to engage with customers, all of this kind of good stuff, creating a platform for spending and those kind of things. So can you think outside of the box? Can you look at different industries, what they are doing, sort of top of hat, top of mind? I have seen this in a different industry. I know I can draw from that. Those are things we are looking for in a business case, and that are really important. And then for just your presentation skills overall, how do you speak? What is sort of, do you speak with confidence? Do you present it with confidence? Just as we said during the resume part, don't put yourself down. I don't know how to do this. I don't have any experience in this field. Don't say those things. You can think them, but you don't have to say them. Work with what you've got, work with what you know, and just think about the world at large. There's so many different good examples. There's so many good innovations, and everything within a business is copy, paste, adapt. Basically, there is no one-way solution. So that's are the really important things we look for in a business case. So as we're almost out of time, I check. Are there any other questions you would like to ask us at this time? For Rowan, I know Rowan has left us, but the journals that Khalil talked about, we can put them in the email afterwards and give those to Josh so he can share that with you. Any final questions? Otherwise, I would say, as my final recommendation, I would make sure that you have prepared a list of questions that you want to ask the interviewer in advance. Definitely do that. Ask about things that you personally find important that match your value set. Is it work-life balance? Is it diversity? Is it the job, sort of the content? Ask about what kind of projects do you do? You know, there's a lot of questions. Just think about it in advance, and especially during the first interview, ask a lot of questions. Take a notepad, write it down, because you know you will get these answers. If you're invited back for a second answer, chances are high that they're going to ask you, so what did you learn from the previous interview? What did you remember, or what struck you the most about our company in a previous interview? And if you've written it down, you sort of prepared that, and then you can answer it in a very concise way, but showing that you remembered what they told you.
I would, if I can quickly interject, I would also say to each and every one of you that are part of this call, and to your colleagues, your peers in the program, remember that your resume is a journey. It's constantly changing and updating. Don't be afraid to hand it out to anyone who will read it, and tell them to come back to you and tell the story of that resume. What is it? What are they seeing that you may find some interesting responses back, that the story you want to tell is not there? So share it widely.
Oh, sorry, Christina, go ahead.
I can answer the question from Swati about salary negotiation. So typically salary is discussed during your introductory interview with HR or talent acquisition. They'll typically ask you for a range. They won't tell you what the job is going to pay. So definitely do market research for the industry and the level that you are applying for, and give a range. We want to see that you did your homework on it. But obviously I would also follow up with the range that you give to say, but that you are more interested in the opportunity than the compensation package, especially as someone just, coming out of school. That's not something that you would discuss really with, someone who's going to be your colleague. So like if Davina's giving an interview, she typically won't speak to our candidates about their salary. That's something that goes through HR.
One last thing,
Good question though.
Yeah, that's a good question. We were actually internally considering to kind of have that discussed, but we decided, Davina said, suggested that hopefully somebody would ask us that question. So that's a good question. So I just want to add one last thing. So again, the data science mindset, right? It's a collaborative mindset, and we're all learning. I'm learning things every day, and in this journey, you just gotta have humility. You have to be humble and be willing to learn from others and willing to collaborate with others. So try to incorporate these elements in your answers because you're not expected to solve world hunger by yourself, right? So you're expected to collaborate with others, teamwork, and that's how you solve problems.
And I just say, take every interview as a learning opportunity, even if it doesn't go well, learn from them. The more you interview, the better you will get at interviewing, because the same types of questions kind of keep popping up. So I'd say to, if you do get an interview, take it, even if it's not the perfect job, it'll just get you practicing to interviewing and answering questions about yourself.
I would even say start with interviews for jobs that you're not necessarily put at the top of your list, just so you can get to practice in. And if you really, really want that, dream job, do not make that your first interview, because chances are you're going to be stressed. It's a high adrenaline environment. You're going to mess up. You won't have the experience underneath your belt. And, the disappointment is going to be so much bigger than if you would have practiced a little bit beforehand, know what to expect. I hope that today's insight will have given you a little bit of that sort of that flavor of what you can expect, even if it was really short. But yeah, hopefully that helps you along the way, and you're not blind going into an interview when you start your career.
Feel free to record yourself when you're practicing in front of the mirror. I've done that. I've done that. I still have a stuttering problem, so I had to practice every typical answer I would give. So it helps. It really increases your self-confidence, and you know how to answer the question when it's asked you. You get exposed to so many questions. So practice makes perfect. So just that increases self-confidence. It's all about self-confidence. I mean, don't be cocky, but be confident in yourself.
So we're just past time. I want to give you a chance to wrap up. I know you all have families at home and other things. The commute isn't quite as bad these days as it used to be for most of us. Thank you to Sia Partners, to you all, to the team for making your time and being so generous with the time and the feedback. I know there's a lot that's in the chat in terms of follow-ups and opportunities to connect with folks on LinkedIn. Cannot say enough positive things about the entire team. So thank you very, very much. We will send all this information in the next week or so to those who have registered for the session. So we'll have this taped. It'll probably be up in the next couple of days. But then we'll also follow up with the slides. So that'll be fantastic. Thank you all. Any final comments?
Thank you to the volunteers for participating. I know it's difficult sometimes.
Yep. Elvis, thank you. Shashank, thank you.
Thank you, George. Thank you, Sia Partners, and also thank you everyone for their comments. And I hope we can talk again in the future.
Okay. Go Niners.
Y'all stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
Thanks,
y'all.
everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you.